I have some great HOA stories for you today, and you're going to love that title story too. Here's our first one. New neighbor thinks my flags are an eyesore, posted by Michigan Kerr, and this OP is not even in the HOA. Check this out. Background. About 4 years ago, my township placed a new ordinance which forbids new freestanding flagpoles. This was to curb obnoxious political flag wars. It didn't work, as most involved in such things already had flagpoles, sometimes multiple, or they just mounted them to their trucks. I had a flagpole which, about 3 years ago while I was on vacation, was presumably knocked over by a drunk driver. They were never caught. I thought since my original pole was grandfathered in, confirmed at an onset of ordinance, a new pole wouldn't be a problem. I was quickly sent a warning and lost my appeal, having to remove the new pole. This saddened me, so I went looking through town ordinances and, lo and behold, there's no limit to how many single flags can be mounted on your buildings via poles. Hurrah! I now have 3 flagpoles on my garage. From left to right, we got an American flag, a POW MIA remembrance flag, and the third flag gets rotated per what I find humorous or speaks to me, usually non-political unless it's my "you are both idiots" flag. Currently, it's a Jolly Roger. Yeah, I'm a pirate, 200 years too late. This setup is specific. The American flag is the largest, and I don't want it smacking the house. And with the way the house is set up, no matter if you come from the left or the right, you'll first see that American flag and then the POW flag, followed by my last one. All 3 flags I have just replaced as of the first week of April. Now, I've had my share of headbutting with the HOA down the street. I'm not part of them. Sometime in the past few years, they have decided that houses in the HOA are only allowed 1 American flag and 1 military flag on the condition that you served in that branch. Not my circus. They can dictate that if they want to. Oddly enough, I have talked to the current head of the HOA, and the HOA has no issue with my flags. The color I painted my shed, however, that's another story. And now, on to the story. Loose dogs. I woke up this weekend to find 2 strange dogs playing in my yard. They quickly decide I'm a friend, and they follow my commands once they realize that I have treats. Awesome sauce. I secure the dogs, making one a quick collar because I live on a busy street and it's obvious they're someone's pets. Before I get the chance to try to call the number on one of the dog's tags, 2 older teenage girls run up looking for them. They don't have leashes on, shaking my head, so I loan them a couple of old leashes and find out that they've recently moved into the HOA. They promise to return my leashes and makeshift collar later that day. Yeah, no big deal. Worst case, I'm out something that, well, I really wasn't using anyways, and I've done my good deed for the day. A little bit later, I'm working in my garage tending to some seedlings I'm trying to get to grow, and I hear voices outside. So there's me, girl 1 and 2, and ornery man. Girl 1 says, "It was definitely this house. I remember the flags." I hit the remote to fully open the door. The ornery man says, "Well, I can't quite tell what he says, but I hear flags a few times, and..." "He's nice, Grandpa," the second girl says. I go, "Hey, welcome back." "Sorry again they got loose. Thank you for your help," and they hand me back my leashes. Hey, no, look, no worries. It happens. I'm sure they'll get used to the area soon. But yeah, do try to keep an eye on them. There are predators around. "We'll try, thank you." "What's with these flags here?" He looks at the pirate flag. "We're not at sea." Haha. "Well, we used to have a flagpole, but it got knocked down. I thought the house looked odd with only 2, so I put up a 3rd for balance and whimsy." "Well, the HOA only allows 2 at maximum." "Huh, well, I didn't know they had that limit." "I actually did know, I just don't care." "Well, you should." "I'm actually not part of the HOA, so if they want 2 maximum, I mean, it really doesn't affect me." "Well, you should follow their rules. It'll make for a better neighborhood." And at this point, the girls try to get him to change subject or just leave. Hey, I've had plenty of issues with them trying to push their rules on me. I'd rather they just stay over there with their list of rules. The girls look anxious and say goodbye, trying to convince Grandpa to go with them, but he stays behind. "Oh, but they bring up your property values. You should want to bring up theirs." He looks around. "Well, for example, by painting your house." I hold up my dominant hand, currently wrapped and recovering from surgery. "Yeah, it's too cold right now to paint, and I'm recovering from surgery, but I'll get it done this summer." "Well, at least you'll take down the flags when you paint. They're an eyesore." Hey, I like them, and as soon as the paint's dry, they'll go right back up. But you should comply with the HOA rules. I purposely did not buy a house in an HOA, and that HOA has given me enough headaches over the years. If the HOA wants them down, they can try to take me to court again. See, just one more reason you should do what the HOA rulebook says. You won't lose in court. I'm laughing and I say, okay, I've had enough of this conversation. Please have a good rest of your day. I hit the remote to close the door. The old man pounds on the garage door and I threaten to call the police. After a few, I hear him muttering some words, stupid, flags, and why, along with some odd noises. I go out the front door to see him literally hanging by my American flag. What in the heck are you doing? Well, I'm taking down these eyesores. Get the heck off of my property now. At this point, he loses his grip on the flag, causing him to land on my cement driveway. Well, I'm going to sue you. I could have gotten hurt. Look, I would have helped you up, but since you've mentioned suing me, that won't be happening. He takes another yank on the flag and ends up falling into the grass this time. Give me your insurance information or I'll sue you. Look, idiot, that flag and that pole, they ain't going anywhere. As for my insurance and suing me, go ahead, go ask your beloved HOA how that ended for them. A car pulls up with another man and the girls. Hey, look, your ride's here. Get the heck off my property, man. Some man says, hey, don't talk to my dad like that. Well, he doesn't seem to respond to polite request, I replied. Oh my gosh, he's bleeding. Yeah, and I would have helped him up if he didn't threaten to sue me. He what? Yeah, he tried to tear down my flags, fell off of the flag, and threatened to sue me. The man turns out red. Whoa, well, you probably pushed him. I never touched him, and I pointed at the camera. It's all been recorded if you want to see it for yourself. The man turns to his dad and says, what the heck are you getting into us now? Just get in the car, Dad. The old ornery man takes another try this time at the POWMIA flag, and I catch him before he runs headlong into my house. Seriously, dude? Get your hands off of me. This is assault. I was going to try to be sure he was steady, but he decides to try and fight me, so I just let go. He ends up falling over onto my work truck's bumper. I'm going to sue you and your company for this. I just laugh at this. The man picks up his dad and shoves him into the car. As they drive away, the old ornery man rolls down his window and shouts, your flags are an eyesore. Later that day, the doorbell rings. It's the girls with their dogs. I brace for everything and anything, not knowing what was going to be said. I give my dog a futile settle command, futile due to 2 dogs in her yard, before stepping outside. Turns out, Grandpa was supposed to give me some money for saving their dogs. They aren't really sure what's up with his issue with the flags, but they admit that they think he may be having some dementia issues. I do ask if he's okay. They said, he's fine and only received some minor scrapes and bruises. And honestly, I'm glad he's only got minor injuries. They insist I take the money and I finally negotiate to only taking half. I joke that if they say that I took it all and it ever gets brought up, I'd play dumb, which they laugh and they agree to. As they get ready to leave, they tell me that they like my flags, especially the pirate one. This story stands up to the HOA and terrible Karen neighbors. I, 25 male, own a lakeside property that was legally and officially given to me by my parents. I've been living here for 6 years, and I have some great neighbors, along with some not so great ones. Of all my neighbors, I've only ever had problems with one who lives right next door named Mariette. She first moved in early this summer as she had the former house on her property demolished and rebuilt. My problems started with her over her use of my wood stove and fireplaces. With the temperatures getting colder, I've started to use them daily. My house is not equipped with any form of heating outside of the wood stove and a fireplace. This means that, from fall until spring, I will constantly have them going to keep my place warm. My family never outfitted the home with anything better because it was for weekend trips and we would winterize and leave it when things got cold. My parents thought of adding oil heating when I moved in, however, I opposed it because it was a waste of money and I didn't mind splitting logs. 5 days ago, after having received my shipment of logs for the fall, I was approached by my neighbor Mariette. She came around asking for my parents, to which I said that they don't live here and that I am the homeowner. She didn't believe me and said that I was too young to be a homeowner before leaving. Later that day, I heard a knock at my door and thought it was my girlfriend, so I gave my usual greeting of, "Hey sweet cheeks," while opening the door. Unfortunately, it was not her, and it was Mariette again, so I apologized quickly, and then I asked what she wanted. Once again, she wanted to speak with my parents, to which, in a more stern tone, I said that I was the homeowner. This time, she finally got it and said that I am violating HOA policy by using wood-burning fireplaces indoors and outdoors. In response, I said that as new as the house looks, I am not a member of the group, and that the town permits fireplaces and burning yard waste. She then went on to ask why I even needed them because they do nothing but harm the environment. I went on to explain that, while the house exterior looks new, the house actually has been around since 1930 and still uses a wood stove and a fireplace heating. She didn't believe me yet again and said that she would be back with an inspector. Yesterday, once again, she came with another person who introduced themselves as an HOA inspector. They tried to talk about my fireplaces, but I shut them down immediately and said that I am not a member of their group. The guy then tried to lie by saying that the HOA is in control of all the properties in the area. I immediately called him out on the lie, and I said that he is either lazy or a moron for not knowing that I am not with them. We went back and forth one more time before I told them that I will not listen to them and just to stuff it and leave. Do you agree with this comment? You're not the butt OP. If this continues, inform the HOA that if they continue to harass you, you have no issues looking into legal counsel. Also, let your neighbor know that she is not allowed on your property, and if she comes over, she is trespassing. Yeah, OP, go get a lawyer that will stand up for you because they sure don't have ground to stand on, it sounds like. What would you do? Am I the butthole for calling the HOA on the neighbors for installing a 25-foot tall bouncy castle and water slide in their backyard? I never thought I would be in this position, but I'm the one who sought out the 75-year-old members of the HOA board for assistance. Having said that, I feel like I was very patient and accommodating, but I just got pushed too far. But still, anytime you call the HOA, you may be the butthole. So my neighbors started out in February and March with a bouncy castle in their yard. I could not see it, but I could certainly hear it when the kids would start bouncing by 4:30 and 5 a.m. It honestly seemed that the kids would wake up really early and the parents would just send them outside so that they could sleep more. But it was incredibly loud. I had a polite conversation with the parents and they assured me that that bouncy castle was temporary. I put up with it for probably like 3 weeks, nearly every single day, until I explained that I work nights and I was being woken up right as I was getting to sleep. So to their credit, they stopped jumping early in the morning and everything was fine, until about 3 weeks ago, when a huge bouncy castle suddenly appeared in their backyard. It was at least 25 feet tall. It completely blocked my view of the mountains so that I could see the kids were able to look right into my bedroom window from the top too. Unfortunately, this coincided with a shift change for me, and now the kids were up until 11 or 12, even 1 a.m. on some nights, and now I had to wake up at 4:30. I didn't even realize it was also a water slide until I realized that probably hundreds of gallons of water had run under our shared fence and actually pushed all my dog's poop up against the back door. I went over and I talked to them, and the dad essentially said, "Oh, we were polite enough to change our schedule for you the first time, and this is our backyard. Screw you." I decided something had to be done because potentially my house could be damaged, let alone the sleep issue. So I called the HOA, and however the machine works, my neighbor had been called in front of the board meeting, fined about $1,000 for covenant violations, as well as being ordered to pay for damages to our joint fence. I thought everything was good, except for some dirty looks from the neighbor, but literally every one of my family and friends are saying I'm the butt for going to the HOA. While opinions do vary, the general gist is now I'm the crabby neighbor ruining kids' fun. Then I should have got some noise-canceling headphones and ignored it, and they would have popped the slide at some point anyways, and it would have taken care of itself. The idea, I guess, is that I tattled and got my way by unleashing a bunch of busybodies with too much free time and too much undeserved power. Commenter Fortune Telling Boobs says, Not the butt. I don't typically side with snitches, but this is pretty clear. The early hour noise and the damage to the property are big no-nos. This HOA story is called Help Navigating a Special Assessment, posted by JNash85. I live in a condo and our HOA is made up of 100 units. I've lived here since 2018. At the time, there was a big deal made about roof repairs. We paid $75 a month in fees, and the HOA is supposed to be responsible for the roof. The only other thing the HOA pays for is lawn maintenance and trash pickup. Back in 2018, they said we had to replace all the roofs and quoted the job around $400 grand. This special assessment was voted down and nothing was said again. Last Saturday was the annual meeting, which I was unable to attend. I came home to find some documents taped to my door stating, "Do not pay your July dues." Basically, one person in the neighborhood is calling for a special meeting to remove 2 of the board members who have been on the board since 2018 and then fire the management company. I came home today and I found another document on my door, this time from the management company, stating that this person is spreading false information, possibly committing fraud, and she is being served with a cease and desist order. The management company also stated that there will be a follow-up meeting in the next 60 days to discuss that special assessment. If it were up to me, these 2 board members would be removed, we would get a new management company, and we would rewrite the bylaws to lower our fees and make each homeowner responsible for their own roof. There are now 2 other development phases, and that is how the HOA is ran. The roof repair does not seem logical to me. The management company has terrible Yelp reviews, some of which state that they tried to run the roof repair scam on their subdivisions. The fact of the matter is, I can afford the proposed assessment if it goes through. At the same time, I don't want a target on my back from the current board members if the vote to remove them goes south. Any advice on how to proceed? Update. Thanks for the replies. To clarify, these are single-floor condos, basically 4 condos in each unit. I do see the problems with everyone being individually responsible for the roofs, and I feel like the fees are pretty low. Honestly, it seems like a lose-lose situation. Even if the roofs do need to be replaced, there's been a lack of transparency around the entire process. On the other hand, even with all of the due diligence done, I still see it getting voted down by the majority of the owners. Most are elderly and probably can't afford it. Advice in the comments says it's not really possible to make each unit in a condo building responsible for their own roof or other common elements. That said, if the management company is pulling a scam and the board is in on it, you should be talking to a lawyer and having experts review the documents. You have a process to remove board members. Follow it. Pay your dues. Always. My neighbor cut my trees, posted by Regular Kahuna with concluded updates. This story has a crazy twist at the end you won't expect. About a month after I moved into my new house, my neighbor cut half a dozen old growth trees, 12 to 23 inch in diameter, in a cold weather climate near the property line. I had a survey done, $800, and discovered that all the trees cut were on my property. The owner of the house is a real estate agent married to a private contractor, so I suspect they knew what they were doing and were trying to take advantage of my ignorance. I have their email address from the HOA, and I'm wondering if I should write a demand letter and send it certified mail, email and ask what's going on, or hire a lawyer. State laws in New Hampshire suggest that I'm entitled to 3 times the value of the trees, but I don't even know how to value the trees. I wouldn't have cut them, and now I have to look at my neighbor's house instead of the trees. Please help. Update 1. I met with a lawyer and gave him my version of events along with estimates from my arborist and the plot from my surveyor. The value of the timber makes the theft a felony in this state, and since the trees were within 55 feet of a protected shoreland, they will likely have to pay a hefty administrative fine to the state for not getting the proper permits before cutting the trees. We know they didn't get the permit because it would have required a survey and shown that trees they had wanted to cut were on my property. The lawyer is familiar with the lady of the house from her real estate dealings, mostly closing and title works, and said she's a pain in the butt and that she doesn't like to admit fault. It's gonna be a long slog. Update 2. It's been a month and we finally gotten a detailed drawing of landmarks from the surveyor to confirm that the surveyor got the lines plotted correctly, comprehensive estimates from a landscaper based on photos provided by the previous owner of the house, and timber values from an arborist. Now that everything is squared away in that regard, we're getting ready to submit a demand letter. The one question my lawyer asked is if I should include a value in the demand letter or if I should invite them to contact my lawyer for further details. What would be the pros and cons of each approach? Final update. Today, they settled with me for $35,000 after legal fees. Bonus update. Neighbor may be poisoning my dog. A few years ago, I won a $35,000 claim against my neighbor when they cut several of my trees down. Since then, they sent hate email, thrown garbage on my lawn, and yelled obscenities at me when I'm in my yard. One email said they'd call the cops if my dog barks, among other really mean things, but I don't have anything else I can show the police. I've just ignored them, except for 2 incidents when I asked her not to throw treats over my 4-foot fence. She just told me to move. She's still very angry nearly 4 years later. Today, I had to take my dog to the vet with ethylene glycol poisoning. I have a fenced side yard that borders my neighbor's yard where we let the dog out to do her business. In the past, usually on weekends, she vomits and we chalked it up to dietary indiscretion, but I bought automotive ethylene glycol test strips on suggestion of a friend. Today, her vomit tested positive for ethylene glycol, so I rushed her to the vet who confirmed she'd ingested antifreeze. They're treating her to the tune of $3,000. While waiting at the vet's office, I ordered a camera to mount in the yard and a basket muzzle to keep her from eating anything in my yard. I don't know what else to do that might connect the dots between the treats I've seen them throw in my yard in the past and the antifreeze poisoning my dog is suffering with today. Do I have any legal recourse? Updates in the comments from OP in response to a comment about the camera. I had a camera there, but it covers my yard, not what the neighbors are doing. I could see where she, or my dog, was messing around reviewing the footage while I was waiting at the vet's office, but my partner couldn't find anything there. I also don't think that would have caught anything small chucked over the fence, like the treats that I'd seen them throwing before. My dog will be at the vet's office until Tuesday. The meds have to be administered on regular intervals until the poison is out of her system. The house feels very empty right now. In response to a comment telling them to contact the police. Thanks, I made the report this evening. I just have to send them the medical report when the vet releases my doggo. The poster sharing this says, although the part with the dog is somewhat unresolved, it's been a year and the major conflict, the trees, is resolved, so I'm marking this as concluded. The HOA towed me, but I'm not even in the HOA. Should I press charges? Click the video on your screen so you don't miss this awesome story, and I'll see you there.